The path was narrow and winding. All around us, hills and dales, wearing a blanket of green. On the slopes of the hill, like a girdle, winds the narrow path. One moment, one faulty step, you drop into the abyss of eternity. But still, I pursued my journey, in search of the abode of the NilgiriTahr, in God's own country, Kerala. When we started our journey on the Munnar Udumalpet road, the sun was just breaking on the eastern side of the mountains. We reached Rajamalai, 24 kilometers from Munnar, early in the morning. Below, between the mountain faces, the air was heavy with morning mist and the chilly winds that blew mercilessly. We alighted from our vehicle and shivered in the biting cold. Ahead of us lay a bridle path once used by the British for their journeys to Iravikulam. The first 3 kilometers of the bridle path offers a steep slope. All around are tall mountain peaks reaching up to the clouds. Far away, we could discern a rocky peak frozen in the cold. One got the images of Shivalinga, the phallic symbol of the destroyer. That is Anamudi, the tallest peak in the Western Ghats, pointed out our guide. The gentle gurgle of the mountain streams and the shrill sounds of the wind greet a visitor to the Shola forests. As you cross the jungle and leave the forest behind, the music trails into an eerie silence enveloped by the meadowed slopes all around. Not far away, on the slopes, we could spot a lone NilgiriTahr. Yes, we have reached Iravikulam, the abode of the NilgiriTahr, the monarch of the mountains. Iravikulam National Park is located near Devikulam in Idukki district. Spread over 97 square kilometers, it was first declared as a wildlife sanctuary in 1975 and later designated a national park in 78. The ambience reminds many of the alpine ranges in Europe. Anamudi, the tallest peak south of the Himalayas, falls in the Iravikulam range. During the monsoon months, Iravikulam receives abundant rains. The name Iravikulam is derived from kulam, that means a pond. In fact, there is a large pond or cataract that gives birth to the river bearing its name. The twin regions Rajamalai and Iravikulam belong to a British tea estate. Unfit for planting tea, the company left the place barren but undisturbed. In the early days, there were many animals of the wild in the region, and the cataracts were full of fish. The British company took great care of the animals and nature in this region. They founded the High Range Wildlife Preservation Association in 1928. This was followed by the founding of the High Range Angling Association in 1933. Both these organizations help protect wildlife and nature's bounties in the region. The company appointed Mudawans, local tribesmen, as game watchers. Estate managers were appointed game wardens. In part, the NilgiriTahr owes its existence to these measures by the British company. There are many peaks in the Western Ghats fabled for the NilgiriTahrs. Sadly, none of these harbor NilgiriTahr anymore. Iravikulam, however, abounds in NilgiriTahr. Wildlife sanctuaries and national parks are created to protect our wildlife heritage. Special care is taken to preserve the ecological balance of these parks. The parks are protected and left undisturbed. All rights for private ownership are abolished. The sanctuaries are established solely for protecting wildlife. The wildlife at Irivikulam National Park consists of animals other than the NilgiriTahr. Most significant among these are the leopard, the spotted leopard, and wild dog. Deep inside the jungle are the jungle cat and the musk deer. The bear and the black monkey are occasionally spotted. The park is also the habitat of the Atlas moth, the largest known moth. Many censuses have been carried out on the NilgiriTahr. A 1991 census estimated the number of animals at 1,317, a significant rise from the 885 tahrs counted in 1989. The administration of the national park is vested on an assistant wildlife warden at Idukki. Visits are regulated by the issue of passes, and that too restricted to Rajamalai. Here, you have to be singularly lucky to spot a Tahr. The park is located 15 kilometers north of Munnar. Cochin is 135 kilometers away, while Kottayam at 148 kilometers is still further. Cochin is the nearest airport, while Aluva, 115 kilometers away, is the nearest rail station. The NilgiriTahr is an animal once in the endangered list. Thanks to the timely government intervention, the species is now bouncing back. While actual counts vary, the estimates range from 550 by Deodhar in 1978 to 700 estimated by Mr. Verghese of the UC College, Alway. The Tahr belongs to the same family as the sheep and goat. It is also named wild goat. Adult males have a fade brown spot on their rumps. They have striking resemblance to the country goats. The young ones are pale brown, the coat getting darker as they grow old. The horns are semicircular, liberally rubbed, and taper off to sharp pointed ends. In contrast, sheep and goat possess long, curved horns, while the Himalayan Tahr has long, pointed horns. The principal food for the Tahr is the stubby grass of the undulating meadows. The animals prefer to feed either in the early morning or at dusk. During the hot hours of the day, they rest under the shade offered by the shadows of the rock face. During summer, when the grass is scorched, they forage the forest in search of fresh leaves. The Tahr possesses acute senses and disperses like lightning when they sense danger. When sensing danger, they climb up the steep rock face of the mountains with amazing speed and dexterity. Always alert when they are on the move. The flock is led by the stronger members. A few remain on top of the cliffs, looking out for danger signals. At the first sign of danger, these sentinels issue a sharp noise and the flock disperses in a flash. Watching them in their flight is an experience by itself. Come January, it is confinement for the Tahrs. Some say a litter has 2 to 3 calves. Others say only one calf is born. The sight of the young wobbling calf, suckling and cuddling its mother, is delightful indeed. There are about 100 animals in the flock. A journey through the Iravikulam National Park is an experience to remember. One is left with exquisite impressionistic images of beauty and grace of nature. Wave after wave of green meadows, heavy clouds overhanging the green canopy of the Shola forest, and the bright blue skies that shine through the gaps in the forest. A succession of images, real and eerie, titillate the senses. Even at noon, the wind is chilling, and a flock of tars dispersing like lightning. Images abound, images that lift the soul and soothe the spirit. These oases of green in Iravikulam are the lone remnants of a once verdant green mountain range. There is a lot to learn about the behavior of the Tahr. Meticulous observation on individual members of the Tahr are needed. Males are easily identified. They fight bitter duels and wear the scars on their horns. The females seldom fight, and if they fight, do not use their horns. Individual females are hard to identify. At the top of the hierarchy are the males, which fight among themselves to take the top spot. When a female is in heat, the first to woo are the young adventurous males, often without success. The bigger males wait a bit longer, often fight each other. The winner courts the lady and mates with her. Every year, June to August is monsoon time at Iravikulam. The powerful breeze starting in the Arabian Sea carries moisture that meets the barrier of the tall peaks. The air that rises up cools further, forming drops of rain that lash at the western Ghats. The land is always sodden, and the sky above dawned by dark clouds. Every morning, we leave the camp with all our gear to capture the images of the Tahr. More often than not, it is disappointment. We succeed in getting only a fleeting glimpse of these fleet-footed animals. Every March, the mountain slopes are torched to encourage the grass to sprout. The Tahr cannot resist this succulent sprouting grass. They venture out in flocks, tempted by the misting greens. We were caught between the steep slopes of the mountain on one side and a bottomless pit on the other. We had little access for close encounters with the NilgiriTahr, but we still tried to crawl near the herds, winding our way around a small hill. Monsoon rains pour their wrath over Iravikulam by September every year. The mornings wear an eerie sense of loneliness. Everywhere, the fresh earth is transformed to a verdant green by sprouting vegetation. The landscape is ravishingly charming. This is the season for chasing the NilgiriTahr. There are over 600 members in the Tahr population of Iravikulam. Within this, there are subpopulations of 50 to 60 animals. Each such group roams over a territory of around 5 square kilometers, carved out for their own grazing. Only the adult males wander from group to group. Clifford G. Rice is a distinguished ethnologist who spent 2 years at Iravikulam studying the NilgiriTahr. In his doctoral thesis, he observes, the NilgiriTahr is a timid, suspicious animal. They refuse all overtures to make friends with man. But can we, through tact and persistence, attract them to men? Normally, it is a hard bargain, but I did not give up. I did work out a game plan, and ultimately it paid off. Why not seduce them to closeness by tempting them with something that they cannot resist? The manager of the local tea estate gave me a sack of salt. I sprinkled some salt in the forest. To my delight, the Tahrs liked salt. Thereafter, I had salt whenever I went. I knew the Tahr will follow the trail of the scent from salt. One day, I saw a herd at a distance. I walked stealthily and hid myself at a spot in the direction of the breeze. I sprinkled salt all around, over the grass, poured a lot of water, and made a mini salt marsh. One by one, the Tahr, following the scent of salt, reached the spot where I was waiting. In the beginning, even a tiny movement of my body used to startle them, but the persistence paid off. After some time, they shed their fear of man and surrounded me, all of them at arm's length. But alas, the fun was spoilt by an unsporting rain. I froze in the unwelcome showers. So ended my flirtation with the NilgiriTahr. The adult male Tahrs were very guarded in the beginning. They did not respond to my entreaties. They used to see me on my daily rounds, particularly when the mist clears. This triggered an immediate gallop as a reflex. When they found that the others were not following suit, they used to stop, hold their breath, and watch. But in about a week, they too had been tamed. Clifford Rice learned much about the NilgiriTahr through 2 years of hard, back-breaking work. But what could we learn about these gentle creatures? After a month's stay at the park, the days totally spent in the pursuit of these elusive creatures, have we learned enough? In many areas, we are still strangers. We got little insight into the individual behavior of these animals. Their social life eludes close scrutiny. But we learned a great lesson. Our pursuit of these elusive creatures amidst the hostile assault of an unforgiving monsoon taught us one supreme virtue, the virtue of patience. Look at these meadows. How silent are they? Still more silent is the presence of these stars. It is from these life forms that the pulse of nature is born.